You are listening to the World Sports Show on WPPM LP Philadelphia. Soccer-based sports talk covering local, nation, and global soccer. Broadcasting from the Philly Cam studio in Center City, Philadelphia on 106.5 FM.
Welcome to World Sports Show. Charlie Flo here, John and Chris Show. It is Monday night, April 23rd, 2018. We had a great show packed with an awesome guest calling in a little later, some awesome soccer news. A little later in the show tonight, we will have Red Stars head coach Rory calling in. He'll call in probably about bottom of the hour, so about 9:30 Eastern for our friends in Chicago. It'll be about 8:30 Central Time in the good old Windy City. Definitely a lot of soccer news to report. Also, it is World Book Day, I just found out, so we're going to teach you tonight how to read defenses. There is reading in soccer.
We got
called
the book
reading
on
defenses. Also, I saw that it's National Picnic Day, so we hope to pack you with some soccer snacks tonight and feed your heart of soccer.
There you go.
So a lot of soccer news, like I was saying, to report. I think the big news is that is the CONCACAF Champions League final on Wednesday night. We have the Toronto FC traveling down to Guadalajara to finish up their second leg of their two-leg aggregate. Right now, Guadalajara holds a 2-1 lead, and yes, the away goals do count in CONCACAF, so the only way this game can go to extra time is that Toronto has to make it 2-1. So they can't just win. Toronto needs to win by a 2-goal margin to outright win. So a 2-0 win would put Toronto through a 3-1, but then it starts getting tricky once Guadalajara starts scoring. You almost have to do a 2-for-1 deal just to make it go through. So that'll be on Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. It'll be on Unimas, I believe. John was able to crack that stat for me.
That's it.
Also looking at the Philadelphia Union, they played Saturday night in Dallas. They lost a game 2-0. Unfortunately, it was a 0-0 at halftime, but Dallas ended up making it 2 goals in the second half, went on to a 2-0 win. Philadelphia Union are back on home soil this next Saturday night against DC United, so it's rivalry week. So it's from marketing people down at the Union talk to it, looking out, it's going to be close to a sellout. So looking forward to a nice hopping talent injury stadium. That team is definitely in a must-win situation. It's not do or die time, but it's getting kind of close, especially when you're playing a rivalry Eastern team. Looking at some of the other MLS action from last Saturday, LAFC and Montreal played in a shootout. LAFC topped Montreal Impact by a score of 5-3. Dynamo put a hurting on Toronto 5-1. Red Stars. I've got Red Stars on my mind. Chicago Fire beat Red Bulls 2-1. Columbus and New England played to a 2-2 draw. Orlando topped San Jose 3-2. Real Salt Lake destroyed Chicago by a score of 3-0. Atlanta topped LA Galaxy by a score of 2-0. I have to now refer to the LA teams as LAFC and LA Galaxy. So now we don't see the same thing with New York. Can't just refer to it as New York. Yesterday on one of the primetime games, Portland topped NYCFC by a score of 3-0. Seattle Sounders topped Minnesota 3-1 in Seattle. Let's turn the page to the women's game. We had our midweek game, our Friday night game, Saturday and Sunday game, so it was a very great week for NWSL. This is the time of the year that I love when you get to Wednesdays, the Fridays, the Saturday, the Sunday. You have North Carolina, who stayed undefeated on the season by beating Seattle on Wednesdays 1-0. Chicago Red Stars put a hurting on the dash, beat them 3-0 at home in Illinois. Portland and the Spirit played to a 1-1 draw in Oregon on Friday night. Their Saturday games, the Courage and the Utah Royals played to a 2-2 draw. Chicago Red Stars and Sky Blue played to a 1-1 draw. And the lone Sunday match, Orlando Pride topped Houston Dash by a score of 1-0. So very, very busy. A lot of moving around and shifting in the NWSL and the MLS. Let's keep it local. Let's talk Union. Went on the road and put up a donut. Same thing we talked about last week is getting on the score sheet, whether it's 1-0, 2-0 John, the Union still lost.
Yeah, it's tough, and by the looks of it from the TV, looks like it was like a fog, rain type game.
Yeah.
It's not the best ideal conditions, but hey, both teams got to play in it. You switch sides, so it's even up.
Yeah, so it's definitely a big concern with the Philadelphia now coming home to fellow Eastern Conference rivals, the DC United, and this is when I call it the 6-point swing. You lose the game, really you're losing almost 6 points because a team that is going to be fighting for a playoff spot like DC United going straight up against them is a situation where draws going to help them, ain't going to help you.
Yeah, and it's just, every game from here on out, especially at home, we're talking must-win 6th game of the season to get back in the playoff line, to get a float, to have a chance. So especially we got teams like Toronto who, they're not even close right now in the league, but they're still in Champions League, that aren't playing their best ball. Of course, they're going to come on mid-summer.
Yeah, they're dropping all those midweek games they got to worry about.
That's it.
So, their talent's not changing. They've got guys, you've heard of Josie Altidore and Michael Bradley. They have a strong cast. I mean, they're sitting with 1 win, 4 losses, and 0 ties. But you know what? They're a good squad, and they've really only had 2 home games. They played 3 on the road. So it's going to be a matter of time because of the warm weather, cold weather. The northern teams are going to start getting those home games at home where Philadelphia kind of sits in the middle. Technically, it's like a northern city, but, I mean, so far Philadelphia has had 4 games at home, 2 on the road. The 0-2 on the road, not the worst situation. They lost at Colorado, they lost at Dallas. Okay, so they lost to Western Conference teams, not the worst thing that can happen. You're playing out of your time zone, you're playing on the road, you're playing against good squads, but the thing that really sticks out to me is the 1-1-2 at home. That's inexcusable.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And just taking a quick peek at the table, the top 6 teams make the playoffs in the East, and every team from 1 through 6 has a positive goal differential. In the bottom 5.
Yeah, you're right. Yep, looking at that.
So I think that speaks for itself. Even though Chicago's on the line there, they're getting back to form, but still, you're -5. You're not scoring goals, and you're not producing the chances.
That's the point separation right there. I mean, the line is drawn, and you have a chance. Go on to any type of website that has the MLS standings, and you can see that the goal differential for Red Bulls is 6, and it goes all the way up to New York. NYFC, and they're sitting at 7. You drop down to Chicago, to Toronto. Everybody has a negative goal differential. Even if Chicago is -1, Philadelphia is sitting at a -5. I mean, everybody's sitting at the negative, and surprisingly, the one thing about Chicago and Montreal that are sitting in 7th and 8th is they've picked up a away win, and
yes.
that is one of the biggest differentials right there. If you look at all the teams, DC 9th, Philadelphia Union 10th, and Toronto 11th, they all have a huge 0 in front of them away. They also have something else in common. They all have only 1 win at home.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, all these draws and these losses at home. I'll take a draw or 2 at home, but having losses at home start adding up real quick.
Yeah, the one exception in the East is New York Red Bull sitting in 6th position. They were in the Champions League early on in the season, weren't able to get an away win. They're 2 losses away, but they're still in 6th place, and they are scoring goals, and they can score very rapidly. They're a team that usually they start striking hot towards midsummer and then fizzle out at the end.
Yeah.
But they do have a perennial golden boot and their striker, Wright Phillips. So
yeah, this guy, we've seen him overseas do stuff, here in America do stuff.
In America, especially in Chester and New York, so he's very good in the box. It's
you have to play them too. That's the thing.
Union fans, but he does handle the Union quite well. So it's one thing that they want to start taking a look at, maintaining their strikers.
You look at a situation with DC United sitting right above Philadelphia, and we talked about the whole have to get a win. This is the best situation where you get those 3 points right now with Philadelphia sitting in on 5 points. DC sitting on 5 points. You really jump up in the table. I mean, you never know what can happen with Montreal this weekend or Chicago. As crazy as it is, Philadelphia Union sitting on 5 points, get 3 points, and you're chasing Red Bulls that have got 9. You're right back in it. That's how crazy it is with those losses on the road, how quick they can turn everything around.
That's it. You're going to have to string together a multiple goal type of game, and it seems like in the last couple they haven't found the back of the net.
And it's almost like the downward spiral, how much a win can really boost the squad.
Absolutely.
Especially against, like you said, an Eastern Conference rival. But how bad a loss is. I think a loss is more detrimental to this team than a win. Even a tie to me is just as bad. That win, I feel like, is 10 times better than a loss or a draw. Draw does you nothing. DC walks out with a point. Philly walks out with a point. You're both sitting on 10 points. Would both be sitting on 6 points, but you're not catching Montreal because Montreal, no matter what happens this weekend, would still have 6 points. No matter what happens with Chicago, win or loss, they'd still have 7. And the goal differential right there, which is comes down to a tiebreaker. DC would still be sitting on a -4 if it was a draw, and Philly's still sitting on -5. So no matter what, a draw still puts you bottom. I mean, who knows what Toronto could do? Union could walk out this weekend in 11th place.
Yeah. Could walk out.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say walk out. You'd limp out. You could be 11th place by the end of the weekend.
You can be in 11th place, or you can get that 3 points and propel yourself up, maybe a game away from the playoff line.
Yeah, you're hovering around 7th, 8th place. Take care of business at home, and I think that's it comes a point where urgency that do they mix the lineup up to go with what's going, because whatever's working, I wouldn't say whatever's working because it's not working. Whatever's not working ain't working.
Well, they haven't really changed the lineup or the formation in about a year. So
This is true.
all year it's been the same. And it does look like the coach left the sub in the pocket. It's kind of tough to see.
When you're losing 2-0, my thing is get somebody in there who hasn't had, especially in a situation where the last 5 minutes of the game was pretty much in the books.
Yes.
Once Dallas put in a second goal, the game was in the books. So why not put somebody in?
Yeah. Just the one stat that jumps out pretty obvious is shots on target. Dallas 10, Union 2.
Even if they'd hit 100% of their shots on target, would have walked out with a 2-2 draw.
Walked out with a tie. So considering that fact that, we're going to play you be the coach. So where do you start? Start with practice and work your way towards game time. You're the coach. You got full reins of the team. What do you do?
I'm actually getting a little more aggressive. I'm looking at let's start working out of a 4-3-3.
Okay.
Get more guys in the box, more shots, and more offensive players. I'm looking to get guys like, Derek Jones sometime. The crowd you've got on the field now is not producing. I know they say a lot of starting lines are based on what they're doing at practice. I get it. Practice and training, your players are doing well, and that's what you base your system on. One of the big things in sports I've noticed is you don't want to hurt the feelings of players on the field. I could give a crud about the players on the field. It's the same thing when I coach college, that if you're not producing, you don't play. And we are so fast at changing our lines up in college. If you're a forward and you've played 2 or 3 games in a row and you haven't scored, you haven't done your job. To me, it's like, how long in a basketball game, if a guy keeps missing shots, how long do you get him out of there? If a guy's missed 10 shots in a row, I'm sorry, but his backup can't do any worse.
Okay, I mean, we're looking at, I agree.
But what
with
depth do you have?
But as far as service, if your score is not getting the ball,
this is true.
In the
you're right.
Score.
It's an easy thing for me to say if your score's not scoring.
But
let's
I
look
agree.
at the touches, where they're getting their balls, how we're setting them up. So it's a midfield problem when you're not scoring. It's not just a forward problem. 2 shots on target means that's only 2 shots that your forwards found that they got on target. So it's a midfield problem and a distribution problem. So you work your way from the top to the bottom.
Your striker had 4 shots in a game compared to their attacking midfielder who had 7 shots in the game.
Yeah, something's wrong there.
So it's a little bit lopsided there.
Yeah.
And one thing I do notice that we talk about all the time, I think it might be the World Sports Show stat of corner kicks. We say majority of the time the team who wins the most corner kicks wins the game.
Yeah.
We're talking 11-2 Dallas.
That is a huge – because I look at corner kicks, 2 things. Is you've gotten basically to their line to the point where their defense is having to kick it out of desperation.
That's it.
So the ball's that far in the line where they couldn't clear it. They couldn't connect the pass, where ours is a deflection. And another thing is that's a time of possession. I know that time possession is a big thing that they talk about in soccer, that most of the majority of times in soccer, the team that possesses the most usually wins, that you have a team backed up. You have a corner kick. You're letting your offense rest. And there's more stresses put on a defensive team during a corner kick than an offensive team. So you're making them be on their toes 11 different times to 2. We talked about the shots. what was it, 10-2. You're looking at these things that are 11-2 and 10-2. You know, you have a 5-1 ratio. You have an 11-2 ratio. You know, simple things like that. You break down, you throw somebody those stats and have it do a poll of fans, soccer, anybody that doesn't know anything about soccer. Guarantee you, 99% are going to say that team probably won.
Okay, that's going to be our stat for next week. We're going to look at the MLS and NWSL.
Yeah.
We're going to compare corners.
Okay.
Just that stat alone. And we're going to go on it. I'm just going to say,
yeah, that's a great idea.
75%.
It's got to be.
So there you go. I think the one thing, notice from the stands perspective is compared to the media box or the television perspective is might be the reason why the Union don't get a lot of corner kicks is because of their points of attack. It's mostly like deep on the flank, and they're all crosses coming in as compared to a lot of teams that will take shots outside the 18, get deflected, and work inside out. The Union rather play outside in, so that their goal is to get their fast wingers on each side, come down and service the striker who can, put one in.
Some stat that I saw in the preseason, it must have been about 75% or something. I'll have to get that stat from Jim Curtin. Shared some stat. Him and Ernie shared some stats with me. Ernie Stewart, GM, and it showed it might have been around 75% or 80% of the goals are scored that top of that key in the 18. So to me, that's where your selection is. And there's another book that I highly recommend, Soccernomics. And me and you have even talked about somebody broke down the conversions of crosses that lead to goals. And it's something like really like in the single percentile. Majority of the goals come from right down the middle from a shot. I mean, you have so much traffic, you have deflections, but a lot of people love to whip in those crosses. Let's work the wing, whip in a cross, but they lead to either a bad cross, player maybe get a head on it, but it goes out of bounds, or the opposing team gets the head on it and moves it forward, and they end up getting a counterattack because you've got some of your wide players spread out, so you don't have a lot down the middle, so it's easy to counterattack a team that's moving the ball and spreading the team out, so they don't have a lot of depth in the middle. If I'm attacking down the middle when it comes to the final third, I got a lot of my players in the middle. You're not going to beat me off the deflection right back down the middle. It's just the sheer power of the ball.
That's it. I think I want to look at a Soccernomics 2, a sequel.
Yeah, we need to write it.
On where them chances are, the origination of the chances.
Yeah.
Are these corners coming off of shots from the middle? What's that heat zone are they coming off of?
Yeah.
That corner or the first result of getting to that place.
Yeah, how did you acquire those corner? Like that's a great stat to go back, and I'll have to watch the entire Union game. Is find out, or we'll do it for next week moving forward. Maybe we'll break down the Dallas game like that. Is how each corner kick was created.
Yep.
Even
chances.
Hey, maybe we can get a volunteer out there, and a stat guy out there wants to.
Yeah, even tackles that led to chances is another stat that really doesn't get published. But you got a team that wins the ball, that presses high, such as a team that comes maybe midfield attacks on the wings and wins a tackle rather than a defensive attack. So if your defensive player attacks it, you got a whole length of the field to come and score.
It's true.
Your offense gets it. You're pushing. You're looking at counterpunching.
Yep.
It's rare that you see teams that are really good counterpunchers. Paul Riley, there's your prime example.
Yeah.
Whole counterpunch right up top won't take it.
And all he needs is one.
Team. That's it.
All he needs is one. Just remind everybody you're listening to World Sports Show on WPPN LP 106.5 FM on the internet at phillycam.org/listen. Remind listeners out there that it is WPPN LP Philadelphia Fun Drive this week. Anybody that would love to make a donation, help out our show and other unique shows like us, like the show before us, The Elevated, and DJ Yard Sale that comes on after us. Two great shows that we're kind of sandwiched in the middle of. Two very wonderful shows I enjoy listening to, and there are several other great shows on this radio station. And just let you know that me and John are volunteers on the station, that everybody that's at WPPN LP is a volunteer, and we're doing this with our time and our hours and hours of production we put into it. We don't get paid by the radio station. We're on here strictly as volunteers to help grow the game of soccer, whether it's the men's game and the women's game. We give equal coverage of both, and there are plenty other unique radio shows like us on WPPN LP that are bringing news and content that you're not finding anywhere else on the radio. And we definitely need, listeners like you that are listening right now to make donations. So head over to phillycam.org. There's a top of the webpage. There's a donation button for WPPM donation. Help us out. If you want to keep hearing us cover, the game of soccer, Philadelphia Union, MLS, especially women's soccer to the NWSL, and we find ourselves in a very unique spot where we're the only radio show in the country, or probably the world, that covers MLS and the women's game at the same time. We covered a men's game, but we are definitely the only radio show in the world that I know of on FM radio that's covering women's soccer every single week. And speaking of women's soccer, we do have on the show a little later head coach of the Red Stars, Chicago Red Stars, Rory Dames, will be calling into the show in just about 10 minutes.
That's it. People power media, that's an emphasis. So basically we talk about what you guys want to hear, especially, we don't beat the drum of the major sports in town, but, it's good stuff. But that's just, we focused on soccer, women's game, men's game, and a lot of local, especially coaches. Like, I find it an honor that we can have Coach Dames on, Coach Riley, Coach Harvey. It's just, each week seems like it's an amazing guest, and we do learn a lot from these coaches as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that we were very fortunate to have the coaches convention here in Philadelphia just about, gosh, I'm looking at the calendar, it's April. That was 3 months ago, but it does seem like just a few weeks ago that the neat part is that, covering this game, that these coaches are very accessible, and we want to bring that access to you as a fan, you as a fellow coach out there, because we not only want to entertain, we want to educate, and all these coaches are willing to educate, and I know I was talking to Rory Dames earlier. He's doing some coaching courses tonight and stuff, so I'll definitely pick his brain about that.
Nice.
So definitely want to share that. Chicago Red Stars sit in second place right now in the NWSL. They had a very big week. They had a 1-1 tie against Sky Blue of the weekend, and then their earlier game of the week, they beat Houston by a score of 3-0. They've added a couple of my good friends as their assistant coaches, so we're definitely talking to Rory about that. So very exciting NWSL season so far. Looks like I want to run down, some of the breakdowns of some of the NWSL stuff over the past weekend and break down the standings before we really dig in deep with Chicago Red Stars head coach Rory Dames. I mean, Carolina showed that they got a couple ways to dent their armor. It's crazy to see a Paul Riley team give up 2 goals, but they battled back, and one of the goals, I can't think of the name of the player, made ESPN top 10. I mean, Carolina with a 2-2 draw yesterday. Or over the weekend,
Yeah, playing against a Laura Harvey fueled team, counterpunch can do it.
Don't be surprised that'll be the final. I would not be surprised that'll be the final, dude.
Very good game, and as well as, you can just see it might have been a little bit of fatigue, but I think that, you can look at it a couple ways. People say, Carolina having a midweek game came in a little bit tired, but I think that the Harvey teams are always prepared, multiple different angles to attack, defend, and they can do it all. It's not just a ring up the score type team. They can defend.
Yeah, and the one thing that I know a lot of people out there might have heard that how the heck is there, could you say Utah and Carolina in the final? Yeah, you told me it's second place, but like we were alluding to earlier with some teams just have to back in their schedule. So Utah's played 3 games on the road, and they played 1 game at home. So, they did unfortunately lose that 1 game at home tight, but let's look at it. They have played 3 games on the road, Utah, 3 draws. Now, I look at the standings, and North Carolina, they fortunately only played 1 game on the road. Not many teams can say they're undefeated on the road this season.
Yeah.
It's 3 draws, but if you're a coach and you know you've got 3 draws on the road, plus the one that's the hard things in sports to do is play ahead of you in the time zone.
That's it.
They're going east for the majority of their road games, so there definitely will be a team that will slowly move themselves up, I guarantee it, in the standings because of that simple fact. They're going to start getting more of those home games, and they'll slowly creep themselves up. So I would not be surprised to see Utah in the playoffs. And then it becomes the playoffs, top 4 teams get in. All you need to do is win 1 game to get in the final.
Yeah, and I think that, I'm just thinking back of the last couple of years, I think that the top seed hasn't won. The top 4, it's been usually two teams.
No, we have neutral site for the final, so it's just a matter of getting in the playoffs and making that 1 game to get you there, and then the final. And they've all been really good finals. They've not been blowouts.
Yeah, awesome.
Like stoppage time goals, 1-0 type of games. They come down to the wire. And let's look at this Utah team. It is a team that is comprised majority of Kansas City players, and because of the name changing and the folding of Kansas City and a lot of those players going over to the Royals, that Kansas City won 2 titles.
That's it.
So you have veterans like Barnhart, you have Becky Sauerbrunn, And, but like I said, we've got Chicago Red Stars head coach Rory Dames calling in a few moments. Chicago Red Stars are sitting in second place with 8 points. They are at an overall record of 2 wins, 1 loss, and 2 ties. They have a player, Sam Kerr, if you've heard of her. Definitely one of the best players in the world. I think what really sprung her, she had a really good season last year, but it seems like she just got hotter and hotter as the season went on. And then how hot she was over the summer in the League, I can't think. I was going to say League of Nations. I'm trying to think of the name of that tournament they have in the summer. Tournament of Nations. And Australia won that outright, and Sam Kerr just took the world by fire. That she starts peaking in midsummer. Chicago holds on to that, and you get a player like Sam Kerr in the playoffs, which we didn't see because Sky Blue didn't make the playoffs last year. You know how scary that would have been if somehow Sky Blue made the playoffs last year and you got the best goal scorer in the world?
Yeah, no doubt.
So we'll definitely, I would like to see Chicago make the playoffs and see Sam Kerr, because like I said, right now, if the playoffs started today, it would be Carolina versus Seattle in a semifinal, and Portland would have to travel to Chicago,
Yeah, it's interesting just seeing, watching the Utah game, seeing Amy Rodriguez come on.
Oh, love it.
Late in the game. Very good skill. I mean, I think that's something that we forgot. She goes all the way back to the Philadelphia days.
Still
Philly days.
I think one of the toughest forwards on the ball, a possession forward. Get the ball to her feet. That's the kind of forward she is.
It's not too often where you see forwards playing back to the goal, absolutely top-class turns, turn on a dime and make the right decision. I think that you got a lot of these young players who can make the turn, but that first touch,
oh my God,
it's not money. Every time Rodriguez touches it, it's money.
Well, that's one of the biggest things when I work with forwards in private sessions and even small group sessions. That first touch is so key because why is that first touch? Because you might have 2 or 3 players on your back.
That's it.
You're making that quick decision of which way you're going to go, hold it, and too many forwards, they kind of want to, like a basketball, post up. It's a completely different type of sport. You're not going to be able to hold it. You got to make that first touch, not a trap, but a move into space.
That's it. And then, touching the space is that, your forward's got to be looking to make an advanced shot and create chances.
It's
got to go.
I wouldn't say I have the easiest job, but in a way you have the simplest job. If you're a target forward, you got one job to score.
That's it.
You're not looking to dump it off. Looking at you have to be a selfish, greedy, have a little bit of ego too. I think have a little bit of fire. Have that like that T.O. mentality. Have a little bit of I want the ball. I'm going to score.
You're talking to soccer fans. T.O.
No, you almost like that Cristiano Ronaldo.
There you go.
That give me the ball, I'm going to score.
That's it.
Guys like Pele, that you found that ball to Pele. That's a stat I would love someone to break down of passes received by Ronaldo in the box, how many led to goals, like the percentage. Like if you receive the ball in the box or ball played to him in the box, the percentage of goals just got to be up there, dude.
That's
80 percentiles.
Because by your words, if you're coaching Ronaldo and he has 5 assists in 3 games and he's not scoring, you're going to bench him.
Sorry, Ronaldo. You trying to boost up your fantasy points there?
I'm twisting it up a little bit, but
you get what I'm saying. I mean, if I got a forward that's that good, putting up 5 assists, I mean, it reminds me of Megan Rapinoe in these last couple of games that she played, and just setting up assists. Like, what, 4 assists she had in a game against Mexico? It's like
that's it.
You have a midfielder that's doing that. Like, oh my gosh. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have on head coach of Chicago Red Stars, Rory Dames. Stay tight, my friends. We'll be right back. World Sports Show on WPPM LP Philadelphia. And welcome back to World Sports Show. Charlie Flo here at World Sports Show. You're listening on WPPN LP on the internet at www.phillycam.org/listen. On the line, we have Rory Dames, head coach of Chicago Red Stars. How you doing tonight, Coach?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. You guys had a pretty busy week. I mean, those are the tough weeks when you have the 2 games to prepare for, the early week or late week game and then the weekend game. How does that change your preparations going into the week?
Well, yeah, having to play the 3 games in 8 days was a little rough, but try to game plan a little bit for what you think your lineup will be on the front end and what your lineup could be midweek. And then when you get to the 3rd game, you just play whoever can still physically move.
Yeah, so I was going to say, sometimes it's a result-driven lineup or it's just a who's got 2 working legs, right?
Absolutely.
Especially you have like international call-ups that have been going on, and I'm sure that's something that you have to keep in the back of your mind. You know, you had a lot of these games where the U.S. players went and played against Mexico, and you have other international players playing games that, I mean, that's probably one of the tougher parts of this part of the season when you're dealing with all those international call-ups and just trying to find a healthy 18 or healthy 11.
Yeah, it definitely makes an interesting challenge, but you also want those players on your team and in the league because they raise the level of the league and they raise the standards and they make it better for everybody. So you got to take the good with the bad when you have the internationals here and when they're not here. Obviously, our biggest issue has just been trying to get healthy and the injuries we have on our team and hoping that we have 13 or 14 players available each week.
Yes, definitely a long season. I mean, you guys are sitting in second place, had a good week. You know, what is the things you tell a team to, just to keep on top? Because you've had times like that before where you guys sat early in the top of the table.
Yeah, our focus has just been on getting better and growing as a group, and we've instilled some new principles this year and how we want to play and how we want to do things, and the group's really worked hard to get better at those and buy into those, and really that's where all of our time and effort and energy has been. We haven't got too caught up with points or wins or losses. We know we're going to have to get so many points to get to where we want to go when it's all said and done, but our 2 biggest priorities have been growing as a group and trusting the process that we're involved in, and then trying to get our players healthy.
And you've got quite a cast of young players now, and players that are just emerging to be household names. Like one that really sticks out to me is like Casey Short. Just seeing her, getting time with the national team and development of her game. Like how big of a piece is she in you moving forward?
Well, unfortunately, we haven't been able to have her involved in anything that we've done yet this year. So our biggest priority with her has been getting her healthy and trying to get her back. But obviously, Casey's 1v1 defending is as good, if not better, than anybody else in the league.
Yeah. Her
ability to cover a side for us, we let her get exposed because we know she can handle it. She gets forward into the attack. The adversity that she's gone through to get to this point makes her appreciate it that much more. And that rubs off on everybody else because she's such a positive influence in the group. So she's a big part of our team and a big part of what we do. And, we're going to continue to be patient and careful with her because we don't want to have any setbacks with her, but we're obviously eager to get her back.
Definitely. So other situations, you guys added some coaching staff, some new assistant coaches and made a blockbuster trade with Kerr, you still want to keep the same image of what team you are, but how does that change your dynamics with the coaching staff changing and adding a player like Kerr?
Well, I mean, the coaching staff has been a night and day difference. I mean, Craig and Gary are outstanding. They've raised the level internally for us. Jordy's better, Evan's better, Brian's better because Craig and Gary are here. It gives us a lot more resources. We can get a lot more done as a staff. Get a lot more done in training, preparation, scouting, and both of them have very different personalities, and they're both very good at what they do, and what they do are two very different things. And the people that have benefited the most from it, besides myself, selfishly, are the players. The players understand the value of having them and what they bring to the group. So it's very appreciative of Arnhem being willing to let me bring in not one but 2 of them. And I definitely picked the right 2 for this year. I'm very pleased.
Also, when we see the growth of the women's game, and I think that Chicago's been a team that has had its ups and downs with just finding a home and finding stadiums. I mean, I'm sure getting to play right in an MLS style stadium has really kind of helped you expose yourself as a team, and just getting that work and getting those doubleheaders for the Chicago Fire. I'm sure that really just helps your brand and helps your image in the city.
course, it raises the level of professionalism. The beauty about our team and our club is we don't forget where we came from. And I think that's probably one of the biggest downfalls in at least this league is people quickly forget where they came from. But we don't forget where we came from. We don't forget our time at Benedictine and training out on the grass field at Oak Brook and the evolution that it's taken to get to be able to train at Toyota Park full-time, for the players to have a locker room there full-time, for the coaches to have a locker room there. To be able to call Toyota Park home is something we're very proud of, and we know it's a privilege, not something that we're entitled to, but it's something that we have to work and earn to get to, and every time we get to play there, we know it's a privilege.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we talk a lot about on the show about, coaching education, how important it is, and, like the convention being in Chicago this year, I'm sure you guys are looking forward to having, such a large convention and just the interacting with coaches coming up in a year from now.
Yeah, this is probably going to be horrible to say, but I did not know that the convention was in Chicago until you just said that. So,
well, now you got your calendar set up. I'll help you out.
Yeah, it's usually in Philly, and then we're in Cali. So yeah, that'll make the draft actually a lot more exciting, won't it? So, I mean, the Chicago's a great city, so to be able to have all of those soccer minds gather in our hometown and right in our backyard will be great. And like I said, being able to have the draft in our town and get some of our players out there and some of our fans out there, get our local 134 out there for the draft, that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. So what are some of the goals that you put in front of the team, during the preseason as it went along, and things that you've discussed with them, what you guys are targeting in 2018?
I think the biggest thing we've discussed is, who we were as opposed to who we are. Wanting to have a culture that promotes a growth mindset. And then, taking on this new endeavor, we've given the players a lot more responsibility and a lot more freedom on the field, a lot more willingness to let them express themselves and take chances. So, the trust the process is very cliche, as I know, but it's something that we've embraced because, we are on a new process. We were able to get to a certain point doing what we were doing, and it was a point that 6 other teams would have loved to have gotten to, but unfortunately it didn't get us to the finish line that we wanted to get to. So we took a step back and changed our roster a bit and changed our style. And so it's exciting because it's fresh and it's new, and we're all learning every day, players and staff together. And it's a very rewarding experience to see the players growing and see how hard they're working.
One thing that I really love about the NWSL versus a lot of the other leagues throughout the world is the parity that every single game you have to game plan 100% because it's almost a flip of a coin. You rarely see blowouts. There's never a game where you walk in saying, okay, this is going to be a 5-0 easy win, which we see like an EPL all the time, where it's not even that enjoyable to watch when you kind of know the result. What has it been like as a coach for you to coach in this league where every single week it could be a win, loss, or draw? It's hard to predict.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's appealing about the league, right? I mean, the competitiveness. All of the coaches in the league are ultra competitive, and we all get along, and we all enjoy each other, and we all have a high level of respect for one another because we've all been in the grind. But we all want to win. So getting to know who the coaches are and how you prepare for Laura as opposed to how you prepare for Mark or how you prepare for Paul, I mean, they're all different. So not only are they all really good coaches and they all have good teams, everybody has their own style that they play, and how you prepare for each one of them is a little bit different. So you grow a ton as a coach and as a staff. You constantly have to do the work and be on top of your game, and if you try to take a day off or take a shortcut, you get found out quick.
Yeah, well, Coach, I really appreciate you calling in last minute. We had a guest fall through, and really appreciate you stepping in and helping us out by being on the show. I mean, it's great that you are doing this, and wish your team the best success, and hope you see you guys in the playoffs.
Appreciate it, Charlie.
All right, thanks a lot. It's Coach Rory Dames, head coach of Chicago Red Stars, who currently sit in second place. Be great to see them get in the playoffs. Like I said, I wanted to see Sam Kerner playoffs, and we've yet to see Sam Kerner playoffs because she's spent all of her career in the NWSL so far with Sky Blue, and really haven't made the playoff appearance since their first year back in NWSL. So we really would love to see, and I mean, just a lot of young stars on this team, and a team that's really molding and gelling, I think, at the right time. I mean, battling adversity, and a player like Casey Short, who's got a huge future in U.S. soccer, but battling injuries that you know that she's going to be around for a while. So that's the biggest thing as coach. You don't force a player back in, especially if you're already in second place.
Yeah, I think it's, battling the weather alone in Chicago, let alone the season and teams. This weather for the open end of the schedule's been rough.
And I'm very envious because what I've seen Chicago do, which I've not seen, I'll have to double check it, but pretty sure that the other teams that are owned by MLS and NWSL don't have double headers. And Chicago has a very unique thing with doing double headers. I mean,
that's it,
dude. That is my bucket list dream thing. We don't have a NWSL team here in Philadelphia, but if we did have one, dude, why not have double headers?
That's it.
It's the same fan base, same family atmosphere, same soccer kids. How many groups of young girls I see going down to Philadelphia Union games? Tons. But what better way to say, hey, there's a women's game either before this game or after that game. How many siblings play sports? Get them all down there. Get the young boys down there seeing the pro women. So, great things that they're doing in Chicago. The Red Stars and the Fires playing doubleheaders, Toyota Park. I mean, definitely a great setup, a beautiful stadium, and a great little type of partnership they got going on with the Chicago Fire, and definitely want to see more MLS teams stepping up, helping out, whether it's them, getting a NWSL franchise, but more doubleheaders. We've got Houston, Utah, Portland, Chicago, those cities that, that have the same cities, similar ownership, but, I would love to see more of these, I would love to see a league with 20-plus teams in it. Having 9 teams, great, but, having a 20 team, so really that playoff race is cutthroat.
Yeah, it is. Very cutthroat. You're right about that.
I mean, even with 9 teams last year, 10, with top 4 making the playoffs, I mean, you really got to get in with a winning record, and it can be one and done, you're done. So,
But the thing with this league is you have a lot of talent not there yet.
That's the thing that when I talk about MLS versus NWSL, let's break this down. Why NWSL is 10 times better than MLS, and I know I'm probably catching some heat for it, but let's break it down this way. What is the best women's league in the world? NWSL. What is the best men's league? La Liga, EPL, Serie A, Bundesliga. Those hovering as the top men's league in the world. Okay, what if we broke La Liga, EPL, best? If you took the best players and made up 9 rosters of the best leagues, this is the league you'd get, and that would be the league. A 9-team league of the best men's player in the world. That is basically the equivalent of what the NWSL is. It is the best women's league in the world. There's only 9 teams.
That's it.
You look at MLS, you might have maybe 1 or 2 guys that play for their country on your MLS roster. You look at NWSL, you've got almost half the squad plays for their country. Whether it's U.S. or in their system or has been a part of their system in other countries. So it's per talent, per player, NWSL has, bar none, much more than MLS.
Sure.
So it's a very technically fast, quick league, and huge shout out to Rory Dames for last minute guest on the show. That's the thing about radio. Sometimes things don't always work out.
Yeah, but
teams travel and they get stuck places. So just remind everybody you're listening to World Sports Show on WPPN LP. I am Charlie Flo. He is John DeCriscio. I just want to remind you that this week on WPPN LP Philadelphia, it is our fun drive. That a lot of shows here are all funded through this is a public access radio station, so we're all basically funded through grants, donations. So donations go a long way if you want to keep hearing shows like our shows, the shows coming on after us, DJ Yard Sale, good friend of ours, and the show before us, The Elevated, and other unique shows on WPPN LP is go to phillycam.org and you scroll to the very top. There's a WPPM donation button, even if it's $5, $10, even if it's $1, even if it's, like I said, $5, that's all you can put in. That we want to continue to give you, unique coverage of the women's soccer leagues around the world. We're one of the only radio shows in the country world that is covering women's soccer every week, getting coaches, players on, and we love interacting with you as the fans. You send us emails of who you want to hear on the show, and we do our best to get them, and have a pretty good success ratio of getting players that you ask for on, and
that's it.
They're very thrilled to be on because how many other radio shows in the country that are having women head coaches and women players calling in every week. So we definitely give them the platform that they don't have anywhere else in the world.
It's a top-notch coaches. We're talking some of the top coaches.
Coaches that have won World Cups, that are coaching their countries, that are coaching some of the best women's team in the world that are coaching and having success, working on some really good guests in the next couple weeks. Craig Harrington, the assistant coach of Chicago Red Stars, me and him were talking earlier today. We'll definitely have him on within the next few weeks. We have some other players that we put in some requests with that we'll debut them on worldsportshow.com. Stay tuned to that website. Whenever we have an announcement of a guest that we have lined up, we will have that on the website. So we talked about the NWSL, with Chicago Red Stars head coach Rory Dames calling in that Carolina, they did draw to Utah, but I'd say they're a team to beat, and they still have not been beat. So rightly so, they're sitting on top of the table with 13 points. We're getting to the point where you still have some teams like Seattle who still have only played 3 games, but they'll eventually catch up. But, teams that have played 5 and 4 games, the pack's going to start separating itself, and right now Carolina's doing what they always do. They seem to pull away. They get so hot early. Even if they fizzle off a little bit in the mid-season, like your late July, early August game, they're going to have such a big lead. Is it really even going to matter at that point? But it will to Paul. Don't tell a coach that, we don't want to stop winning. We're just going to coast into the playoffs. No way.
I think if it's one thing that I learned from the past couple years of covering the league is I never really make predictions a couple months ahead of time.
No, dude.
Because in this league, it just takes one team to get hot, and the table's totally scrambled. But I think, just like you said, North Carolina coming out hot out of the gate gives them room to improve on stuff that they normally won't be able to do if they're chasing points.
Well, like we've talked to Paul about it last week, and what really looked at it is North Carolina has played the most games of the league. Chicago and Carolina, yes, have played 5 games, and they are sitting 1-2 in the standings. Yeah, that having that extra game of their teams does give you a little bit of wiggle room in the points department, where Portland's played 4 games sitting on 7 points. So you never know what Portland's going to do with their next game. They could jump right over Chicago. But the thing that why I really keep my eye on Chicago's played 3 games at home, 2 on the road. That we talked to Paul you look at the gameplay for North Carolina, they have played 4 at home, 1 on the road. So you have a 4-to-1 ratio. This is the times you better be getting points at home. Because the road is not – people also start putting almost, I would say, a target, but they want to play home. Carolina, somebody wants to be that team to beat Carolina.
Sure.
So when they go on the road or you go play them, everybody else is going to step their game up just that much more because they want to hand them their first loss.
Hand them the loss, take the points away, just give that, try and take, the 4-point swing.
Yeah, exactly, because this is not like any other leagues where, this is just like Europe. NWSL is unique compared to American settings where it's just a straight table. There's no east, west, north, south. You have so many sports in America that are North America that are your Southern Conference, Eastern Conference. It's just a straight table.
That's right. So you got 5 teams in a league with 2 wins total, the bottom half.
Wow.
So 1-2 wins together can easily separate the bottom of that pack and almost catapult you into that playoff line territory. So I know it's still early. The one thing, like I said before, the weather's been very rough, especially in the Northeast. But basically this is our first week of spring pretty much in the U.S. So
yeah, seriously.
That's just how
Bust
it is.
out the short sleeves for coaching tonight, man.
So with that being said, in the next couple weeks, I do think the quote relegation zone teams, I think one of them teams is going to sneak out and get right back into we're looking at maybe 4th position by 2 weeks because you get a Wednesday night game coming up. Then you got, so you're looking at 3 games.
Yeah.
All it's going to take is 2 wins to get you back up there.
Another team to keep eye on is Tom Sermanni's Portland Pride. That let's look at Portland.
Portland Thorns.
I meant to say Orlando Pride. Good gosh, my mind. I'm looking right at Orlando Pride, and then I said Portland. Sorry, they both end in never mind. They don't end in anything close. But the Orlando,
they play soccer.
It's World Book Day. This guy can't read. So Orlando Pride with Tom Sermanni, they made the playoffs last year. They have some great talent. I think Alex Morgan is shown signs that she's right back in her veteran days. That let's be honest, players age, but after the last few international games, she shows that her game is right on top. She's back to where she is and top form, and you got players like Allie Krieger, Sydney LaRue, and Harrison Goal. So you have some really top players like Presley in the back. You have a lot of household names amongst U.S. soccer and even international stars that are away doing international duties. When they have their full squad, don't be surprised to see Orlando start jumping up because, hey, some of these hot weather teams, it becomes almost a home field advantage. Like, people don't want to go down to Orlando and play, even if they play the evening games on the weekends. And in Houston, I mean, that's a different type of hot. You know, people in Philly think they know hot in the summer. Go down to the deep south.
Yeah, it's
even at nighttime, you still have that, like, you're sweating just standing, not even moving.
Yeah,
exactly. Stinky and sticky and all that. So
sticky. Yeah, but one thing I do notice that, you know, as looking back, Carolina, Seattle, and Portland are going to be tough to knock from the top. Tough to knock off the top.
Yeah, because once they get up there, they're not going to leave.
Once they get up there. Chicago's doing what they have to do now, but I think they're only going to get better. You know, it doesn't reflect. I know they're currently in second. I still think they're a very good team.
Well, think about Chicago healthy.
Yeah, healthy.
Think about what the coaching staff in Chicago is doing with the roster and the injuries they have now. You give them a healthy squad. Some teams have dodged the injury bullet, you know, or injury bug, whatever you want to call it, that it just happens in sports.
Sure.
But if you can play that well with the injury bug and still be in, like, second place, imagine how deadly you're going to be when you have a full roster, your access. I mean, think about how competitive training's going to get. I've been starting over you. You've been injured.
Yep.
I'm now healthy. That's like one of the best situations a coach can have. You know, I've been in there several times in my coaching career that, wow, I've got 6 guys I can start in the back, but we only start 4.
Yeah.
You know how competitive that becomes in training sessions?
That's it.
Plus, you know that you can sneak into subs. I mean, there are some subs that are so risky to take, but, you know, we've seen
sneak them in, like, put the same numbers on.
Yeah, now get out of here. NCAA violation, man,
yeah,
dude.
Big time.
But that's the thing is what kind of sub you have is what do you need at that time. We need to maintain good defense, but I don't want my defense to fall off. Defensive substitutes are tricky. You get a defense that's in the zone right that you don't want to tweak it. You don't want to mess with it. But having those kind of healthy players, hey, why not sub in a 5th back, put him in a midfield, her in a midfield spot? And I think that's the great part about having situational based. You know, do we need a goal? All right, cool. We can put in an extra forward, maybe drop one of our defenders, do three in the back, but we know that we got players that can play multiple positions because now they're healthy. So whatever this position and situation is needed, I got players that can plug in all 3 aspects or all 3 phases of the game.
That's it.
So it's a very key. Also, fans out there, shoot us an email, worldsportshow@worldsportshow.com, or hit John up straight to his phone. You can access John 24/7.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, I don't know if John will reply after 2 a.m. Maybe not, because we do have our Hawaiian fans and our West Coast fans that deserve the equal ability to contact you, John.
Yep.
Mailbag at worldsportshow.com.
Yeah, Twitter, Facebook, all the social medias, World Sports Show. And one thing that I did find on my phone, which I'm very not the technology savvy guy, sleep mode.
You discovered sleep mode.
There we go.
There's one even better than that.
What is it?
Airplane mode.
Airplane. Even better one, power off.
Power off. Throw it in the river.
There it is.
Power off.
Power off.
You got me on that one. No, it's funny when you go to, like, certain things that we tell a lot of our guests, put your phone on airplane mode here. I'm going to be honest, I need to take my own advice. If you did hear my phone beep earlier, that was my bad. So,
it's charm. It's
yes.
like,
ding, ding.
Sounded like you had a good idea and it's just wrong. There you go.
Oh, that was my alert to remind me that the next segment on the show is brought to you by.
Yeah, there you go. Too funny.
So, definitely great, to see the MLS, NWSL, in full swing. So, also a little topic I want to touch on for the last couple minutes. We only got about maybe 5 minutes left on the show. We have DJ Yardsdale coming up in a couple minutes. We'll be breaking out all the fans out there that love Champions League. Champions League's back at it tomorrow.
Champions. European Champions League.
European Champions League. You have the Liverpool against the Roma. I shouldn't say but Roma and Liverpool, and you have Bayern and Real. So you have 4 teams left.
Final 4.
Who do you have in each one going through, John?
Ooh, man, way to put the pressure on me.
Sure, buddy. That's what I do.
Man, and every team's coming off a nice dramatic win, too.
They all got here by, like, oh, my gosh, you got here because of what happened? Liverpool win. So,
I mean, I want to say, I'm going to call it now. I'd like to see not that I'd like to see, but my gut feeling just off the cuff, taking a blind stab. Roma, Madrid.
That would be a really good matchup.
There
You're
it is.
talking Roma, who slayed the Giants of Barcelona with Messi and Iniesta, and you have Liverpool, who knows how much they got left in their tank with the inspired Klopp team. And I mean, you look at it, you have the Giants of Real Madrid and Bayern. Those are two of the biggest clubs in the world. Then you have two, Liverpool and Roma, smaller. They're big clubs. Don't mind that.
Yeah.
But the way that they got through, Liverpool slaying Man City and Roma beating Barca, I don't know if they can beat any more Giants, but one of the two of them are going to go through.
That's it.
One of the two of them are going to go through.
Somebody's got to the dance.
So tomorrow, 2:45, Liverpool-Roma. Wednesday, 2:45 is Bayern-Real Madrid. Let's flip it to May 1st, Real Madrid-Bayern, and Wednesday, May 2nd, Roma and Liverpool. So want to thank everybody who made tonight's show possible. Please check out phillycam.org and check out the fund drive. Please continue to support shows like ours and other shows here on WPPN LP. Stay where you are, my friends. Great show from DJ Yardsell coming up. Some great tunes. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your night and sip on that coffee or decaf, whatever you choose. We're out.
Thank you for watching a World Sports Show production. For more info, go to worldsportsshow.com.